Hey buddies, Miss Puggy here coming at you with another Borderlands 3 video. Today we're going to be doing a Moze build, and it's going to be a little bit of a classic infinite ammo build, but today we're specializing in the weapon Super Shredder. So the Super Shredder has a fantastic amount of magazine size, so obviously the best course of action is to use something that would allow us to deal more damage as we shoot, since we're going to be shooting for a long time. So what the other key point of this build is going to be is the Green Monster. Now those of you who don't know, Green Monster kind of acts like a Blastmaster class mod as well. Now what I mean by that, Blastmaster gains more splash damage the longer we go without reloading, so you know that's a perfect fit for our Super Shredder. But what the Green Monster does on top of that Blastmaster modifier is the longer we shoot, the more corrosive damage we get. So the Super Shredder allows us to never have to ever reload or, you know, ever run out of ammo because of all the perks we have in our action skill tree. I'll show you a bit later on why that is. But basically, it just lets us constantly shoot, and to allow us to shoot as many bullets as possible, we want to keep the Super Shredder on its basic barrel, because there's one barrel and then there's a double chain gun barrel. So we want to keep it on a regular because we want to be able to shoot as much as possible without having to reload, because as soon as we stop firing, we're going to lose out on all our bonuses. Now of course the Green Monster actually carries over the bonuses as you stop shooting, but as soon as you shoot the next shot, you will lose all your bonuses. So you want to be able to shoot as long as possible, and Super Shredder allows us to constantly be shooting, so we never have to worry about running out of ammo. So we get max Green Monster bonus damage, which is, I believe, 100% bonus corrosive damage, which 100% means a lot. That's 2 times the amount of damage, and that's just absolutely crazy when you're at max level. Now of course, since we're running a Moze build that primarily focuses on Moze damage itself, of course we're going consecutive hits, so the anointment we have on our Super Shredder is consecutive hits. Now of course we're running consecutive hits, we are going to be running the Pearl. So the Pearl of course allows us to boost our consecutive hits to the next level, just does crazy amounts of damage. And we are running an Incendiary Super Shredder, but I believe I have a Corrosive Super Shredder as well. I found that dealing corrosive damage primarily only is not the best thing to do in Borderlands 3, so what you want to do is kind of mix up the different elements you have. Usually once Incendiary, so we're running with a Super Shredder Incendiary because Incendiary is like one of the best elements of the game. But I digress. We're going to be also using the It's Piss grenade with On Grenade Throw to increase damage. So basically you want to throw every once in a while the It's Piss grenade so you get the 25% more damage. That's always good to have that uptime constantly with your Moze. And then when of course we're using a Bullet to Buffet Old God. Now the reason why I'm running a Absorb Shield Old God in particular is because I find that there's no self-sustain with this particular build. There's no way for us to gain some lifesteal on top of that. Of course you could get around that by going 1 point into rushing offensive, but I didn't do that, so we're using a Bullet Buffet so we don't have to get down as quickly. It has the action skill End, gain 50% bonus incendiary damage, and you know how action skill ends are. That's incredible. So it's always good to have that because we're also going to be entering and exit Iron Bear as fast as possible. So with this particular build, you want to enter Iron Bear and then maybe shoot like once or twice and then immediately get out, because we're also running Auto Bear. Auto Bear basically allows us to have Iron Bear out there at all times, even if we're not piloting it, as many of you guys already know that. So it allows a constant uptime of Iron Bear damage without us having to not shoot ourselves as Moze. And of course that means shooting your own gun, not shooting yourself. I don't know why I said it like that. Because the hidden effect of Green Monster also increasing our splash damage. Our Iron Bear does deal a decent amount of damage, which is chain railguns. Personally, I like to be using the chain shock railguns because I always like it ricocheting. I love the ricocheting effects in any video game, so I like that a lot. And plus having shock damage when we don't have a lot of shock damage on our particular build is handy when we need to deal shield damage. Of course you can experiment with other railguns, but you know, we always want to run a railgun when using Auto Bear because of railgun scaling in endgame is just absolutely crazy. So let's step back a little bit more. So we enter, exit Iron Bear, get the bonus incendiary damage, maybe throw out one It's Piss grenade to get the on throw effect and just constantly be shooting. Now the tricky part is to always be shooting. It's not necessarily tricky, but it can be a little annoying when you're used to only shooting a little and then stopping to conserve your ammo or be a little bit more precise. But with this build, you kind of want to get that out of your brain and just hold down the trigger button if you're playing on console or the left click button if you're playing on PC, and just let it rip no matter where you're going. Now, it can be a little disorienting, I know, because of constantly hearing that shooting. It is a bit of it's a bit of a loud build, so you might want to play some music while you're playing this build, because it does get really loud in your head after a while. But you drown it out. I did, at least, because I didn't use any music. But you just constantly shoot, and you're dealing increasingly more and more damage. And it's great because you're dealing 2 different types of elements. So even if you come across a guy that has immunity to a particular element, you're going to be dealing a second element as well that's doing crazy amounts of damage. So you never have to worry about switching your weapons with this particular build. Now, if you do want to switch weapons, I do have 3 other weapons on this build. I am trying to exemplify the Super Shredder, because Super Shredder is usually not considered that great of a gun. But if you want to go a little bit more meta, you could use the Monarch. The Monarch does kind of have a tendency to run out of ammo pretty quickly, even with a infinite ammo build like this. So it's a little bit tough with the Monarch. You can't fire for too long, but you could also run the Light Show. The Light Show does seem to have a really good magazine size efficiency, despite it only having 28 base on this particular Light Show. But despite the Light Show shooting 4 bullets per round, it does only consume 1 round per shot, so it does have great ammo efficiency, so you don't have to worry about reloading too much with the Light Show. So you can either go the Super Shredder Fire or the Light Show for this particular infinite ammo build. And if you're ever down feeling like you're not going to be able to deal a lot of damage, I do have the Glorious Backburner. All the other weapons I was showing you do have the consecutive hits because we want that, but the Backburner is kind of our last resort. It does have the URAD anointment, so whenever you're in Fight for Your Life, the Backburner is a great choice to do that if the enemy is too far away. Everyone knows the Backburner does tons of damage, so you basically just throw one out there and it should kill the target immediately, and it has the URAD on there, so dealing crazy amounts of damage on top of that. On this save file I have here, I do have 2 elements of each gun. Some guns I do have more elements than just one, like with the Monarch I only have the corrosive and fire. The Light Show I have shock, fire, and corrosive, but the Shredder Fire I only have fire and corrosive. I opted out in my particular setup to have a fire Light Show, a corrosive Monarch, a fire Shredder Fire, and a shock Backburner, because it allows us to have a little bit of diversity in elements if you need that. If you're running a Guardian Takedown, that is very, very helpful. Now, many of you are probably thinking that Super Shredder Fire is not worth the trouble on using itself, because the Monarch and Light Show do allow for more damage just baseline, and that's true because, you know, they are meta weapons, so of course they're going to be dealing a lot more damage. That's why they're meta. But the Super Shredder Fire is able to deal a little bit more DPS than the 2 if you shoot it long enough with the green monster, only because it does increase our bonus corrosive damage the longer we shoot per second. I believe it's a 7.5% bonus corrosive damage each second you're shooting. And the 2 weapons, Light Show and Monarch, can't shoot for that long, but the Super Shredder Fire can basically shoot for, let's see here, let's test it, let's see how long it can shoot for. I just shot all the rounds on the Super Shredder Fire, and I was able to shoot for a solid 27 to 26 seconds, so you are going to be able to get the max bonus on Green Monster no matter what with this build. Super duper easy. Now let's move on to the skill tree itself and how we are able to get the infinite ammo. Now, a lot of you are probably already familiar with this build, but for those of you who don't know, here's how we get infinite ammo. The easiest way to do it is get match set with as many points as the Iron Bank. That is very, very important because we want as much magazine size as possible, because the more magazine size we have, the more ammo we're going to get from Forge, which is at the bottom of the green tree. So Forge regenerates our ammo for a percentage of our magazine. So the more magazine we have, the more ammo we're going to get into our magazine quicker. So if you have like 100 magazine, you're going to get ammo quicker as opposed to only have 5 magazine in your gun. So because we're running a match set, that means we want to have as many of the same manufacturers as possible. So I run a It's Piss, Backburner, Shredder Fire, Monarch, and Light Show because they're all Vladoff. That gives us a 50% more magazine size with 5 points in the match set. We have Iron Bank. 5 points in Iron Bank gives you 35 magazine. We have 5 points in the Iron Bank on the Green Monster as well, so we get a 70% increase on that as well. And of course we're using Cloud of Lead. Cloud of Lead is a standard on every single Moze build. Moze mains, you already know why it's important, but those of you who don't know, you want 5 points in the Cloud of Lead usually on every single Moze build you're doing. It just allows you to have great ammo efficiency. Every 4th shot when you have max points, which is 5 into Cloud of Lead, gives you a chance to, not a chance, literally does not let you consume ammo, so it allows you to have more ammo efficiency so you don't run out of ammo as quickly. To deal as most damage as possible, we do need to go down all the way down to the blue tree. Now the blue tree is one of the best DPSs for a on foot Moze build, so we want to get as many points down there to get Short Fuse. Now Short Fuse is a great ability. For those of you who don't know, it does scale off of Iron Bear damage. So what you want to do is go all the way down here, try to get Stainless Steel Bear, try to get as many Iron Bear damage multipliers like Scorching RPM, and I believe there's another one. I believe there's one other ability that does increase Short Fuse damage with Iron Bear, but I don't quite remember it. I just remember it's Stainless Steel Bear and Scorching RPMs. There's another one, or maybe there's not, it doesn't matter. But you want Fire into Skagden because the Mayhem scaling is crazy late game. You want Means of Destruction, you want as much ammo as possible, so the Short Fuse splash can trigger the Means of Destruction, so you get a little bit more ammo efficiency as well with that. We don't really need to pull the Holy Pin, that was kind of just a dead point I put there so we can get down to the end cap. So if you could find a way to, you could probably just put it in the deadlines instead, but it doesn't really matter. So let's just continue. Torque Cross Promotion for more splash damage because, you know, we're going to be dealing tons and tons of splash damage with this build. Auto Bear, as said before, and Grizzled, so we can keep our Iron Bear up as much as possible because we want the action skill end to trigger as much as possible. And of course, with the Red Tree, we go in the middle because Experimental Munitions is very, very important to deal bonus incendiary damage. And we want 5 points in the Drowning Brass, arguably one of the best kill skills in the game for Moze, or it might actually be the best. I personally think it is one of the best, so you always want to have 5 points into those. Here's what our Guardian ranks look like. We don't need a particular Guardian ranks to do more damage with this build, so you're kind of free if you don't have a lot of Guardian ranks, so don't worry about the Guardian ranks too much on this build. Mayhem modifiers, I like to use Big Kick Energy, Floor's Lava, Laser Flare, and Postmortem. If you're a fan of this channel, you'll know I usually use those Mayhem modifiers in like almost every single build, and if you want, you could do Mayhem 11. Personally, I do like Mayhem 10 a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more fun to deal more damage because of the Mayhem modifiers, but you know, everyone has their own preference. And I'll show you this skill tree one more time just in case you didn't get a good glimpse. We got all the way down in blue, mid on red, all the way down on green, and we're using twin shock railguns for our Auto Bear damage to be as high as possible. If you want to try another on foot Moze build, we have the Iron Cub plus Flare. Iron Cub's a little tiny Iron Bear, and the Flare allows you to deal tons and tons of damage on foot. This build was created around when Iron Cub wasn't great. This just came out, so it wasn't really powerful yet, so this build completely goes 100% on the on-foot Moze damage if you're interested in that. If you're into flak builds, I would personally recommend my Light Speed to Peregrine build. It spawns 4 grenades at once. It's absolutely crazy. It's all about the rack attacks and dealing crazy amounts of grenades damage, so if you like that type of stuff, click up there. If you want a Zane build, I personally recommend my Face Puncher plus Hustler. The Hustler class mod is usually not that good, but the Hustler does really good at instant freezing everything, so we're using a Face Puncher to deal as much damage as possible with the Cryo, because you get 3 times damage on Cryo melee hits. If you want a grenade focused build with Moze, we have the Vindicator Gas Call plus Minesweeper on Moze. If you have any Gas Call or a Vindicator Gas Call, if you're so lucky from the Halloween event, this is the build for you. It's easily one of the best grenades builds you can do with Moze. And finally, if you want another infinite ammo build, but a little bit different, where you get infinite amp shots, try my Sleeping Giant plus version 0.M shield build. It lets you do infinite amp shots, and it's absolutely a blast to play. If you guys are interested in this build, please use the link down below. There's going to be a save file down in the comments and description. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him up with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. More in a cave with a torch on the wall than a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.